As I mentioned at the top of this show, the best fits in college football. Fit is such a crucial term when it comes to the college football landscape, especially at the head coaching position. Because how many of y'all know you could have the right person in the wrong place and it wouldn't work. We've seen it many times. We've seen a lot of coaches that have had success throughout the course of their time in college football struggle at a different spot. And it wasn't the coach's fault, wasn't the place's fault. It was just, hey, it wasn't a fit. So I want to talk through a couple of coaches that I believe, this is not an all-encompassing list, but an exhaustive list rather, a couple of coaches I believe are the best fits for where they're at right now in college football. And one that's going to surprise you, I think Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss is a tremendous fit, man. Like, we hear his name thrown around so much when it comes to other openings across the college football landscape. And I understand it because of what he's done at Ole Miss and the way he's elevated that operation. But to be real, I think he's a great fit at Ole Miss because he beats to his own drum. And guess what? They support him for that. They champion him. They don't just back him up. They support him and allow him to do more. A perfect example of this, what they do via the portal. Lane Kiffin, he does well recruiting. He does even better through the transfer portal. They crush it. Feels like every single year. Had a number 1 class in 2022, had a top 10 class in 2023, and then or currently at least, have a top 10 class right now in the transfer portal. And I expect that to, kind of stay the same going forward as long as Lane Kiffin's running the show there. So they just extended him, but there was a lot of smoke around him going to Auburn before they hired Hugh Freeze, and that was one spot where I was like, hey, that, to me, Auburn, if you go to Auburn, there's a certain way they like to do things. There's a certain expectation for their head coach there. Not that that's wrong or right or better or worse, but I think for Lane Kiffin, for the way that he rolls, Ole Miss is great for him. And going back to what I said about the portal and how he beats to his own drum, you can't go so heavily to the portal if you don't have the resources to be able to work how they work in the portal, if that makes sense. I can't go to the grocery store with an empty wallet. What I'm trying to say here is Ole Miss has the correct backing to support Lane Kiffin with the way that he wants to hit the portal, and they're just fine with him doing that. So Lane Kiffin, I think at Ole Miss is one of the best fits in college football. Now, Matt Rule. I know it's early at Nebraska. It's very early. They have not had the success they want to have just yet, but I think he is one of the best fits in college football too. You're saying, well, JD, they haven't made a bowl game. Are you really saying he's one of the best fits? To me, it's about the culture. And the wins, they're going to come for Matt Rule and Lincoln. I firmly believe that. But with what Nebraska wants out of their head coach and out of their football program, I think Matt Rule perfectly embodies. Nebraska, one of the most passionate fan bases in America. Matt Rule, one of the most intense individuals that you'll see across the college football landscape. Nebraska, they're one of those places that is, blue collar. They want to see their team block and tackle. Matt Rule joined this very show this past spring and communicated to us the exact same sentiment. He's like, the way that I want to run my football team, the kind of style that we want to play is the kind of style, the kind of toughness that our fan base demands. He's a guy that is all in on Nebraska, and I firmly believe Nebraska is all in on him. It's very easy to say that Kirby Smart's a great fit for Georgia or Nick Saban's a great fit for Alabama. That's absolutely true. But I wanted to kind of maybe zone in a little bit more on some individuals that wouldn't get thrown in that conversation immediately. Again, I think Matt Rule, with the culture fit, with the philosophy fit, him in Nebraska, I think, is phenomenal. Now, Josh Heupel at Tennessee is another one that comes to mind when you talk about fits. For Tennessee to compete in the SEC, they had to get a little bit creative. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean if you wanted to beat Bama and Georgia and LSU and all those schools to compete at their level, you had to do something different than what they're doing, right? Tennessee, as good as they are up front, they probably aren't going to, at this point in their stage of development, just going to manhandle in Alabama or going to go manhandle at Georgia. And so as they keep climbing in the SEC ranks, what have they done? They've zigged where other schools have zagged. They've said, that's fine. We're not going to try and go just mano-a-mano in the trenches. We're going to spread you out. We're going to use tempo. We're going to out-scheme you. We're going to out-athlete you on certain matchups and get the matchup that we want, and that's how we beat you. So the way that he has attacked that side of things, I think Tennessee has completely embraced that. And also, I would say this about Josh Heupel. I would say the same thing about Tennessee. Tennessee is a place that does not flinch. And what I mean by that, in the world where all the other big brands in the SEC get thrown around, Tennessee has never once given me any indication that they feel like they somehow don't belong in that tier 1 level. I'm not telling you they are or aren't at a tier 1 level in the SEC right now. I think they're well on their way. But when you talk about Josh Heupel and what he is at Tennessee, I've never once seen him lack any confidence, never once seen him speak with any timidity in his voice or ever shied away from the things that he wants to accomplish. Like, they're all about their business. It's us and just us in that locker room is how Josh Heupel operates. I think it's the same way that fan base operates. Crazed, all about their team, all about what's going on internally. Josh Heupel the exact same way. I really like that fit. So I think Josh Heupel, what he's done there in a short amount of time, fast forward the tape here, a year from now, I think we'll be saying some good things about what they've done with the Nico era beginning in Knoxville. I think he's a great fit. Now, this is one more I want to talk about. And he does fall in the vein of a guy that's winning right now. So I do want to make sure that's, kind of the disclaimer, because it's easy to just say you're a fit when you win. And that is true. Winning makes you a fit, just so we're on the same page there. So that's 100% the case. Steve Sarkisian at Texas, though, man. Texas is a unique place to win. Texas is a unique place to be the head coach. Because how many times had we seen the next hot name show up there and have some momentum and have some juice and then not be able to follow through and sustain? And some of that's absolutely on the head coach. I don't want to excuse them, but I also think that the brand of Texas and the 40 acres and just the spotlight that it is, I mean, that is just quite frankly too much for some people. And the path that Steve Sarkisian took to get to Texas, one, I think made him battle tested and ready for that job. And then two, you got to have a little bit of star power to be the head coach of Texas. Like, you got to have a little bit of something that's good for everybody, kind of like U2. Like, you look across all of their albums and you can find something that's good for somebody, right? Like, you can find a little bit more soul if you want to go Joshua Tree. You can find a little bit more rock and roll if you want to go to, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb. Go to some of their newer stuff and maybe find something for a different crowd as well. Like, you kind of pick or choose what you need from the U2 catalog and you're going to find something that you like. Same thing for Steve Sarkisian, man. He's got the flash that you require to be on the 40 acres. He's also got the substance and the culture that is required to be successful at the tier 1 level in college football. For so long, it was flash, 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 no substance. Steve Sarkisian, he has the flash, like I just said, but he's also got the substance by nature of what he's done building that thing since their 5-7 season and now propelled all the way through to being a college football playoff team. So Steve Sarkisian at Texas, I think, is absolutely a tremendous fit. Like I said, a little bit of everything with what it takes to relate to and to win in a place like Texas, in a place like Austin, and with that locker room and with the kind of talent you attract and recruit and manage on the 40 acres there. So Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, Matt Rhule at Nebraska, Josh Heupel at Tennessee, Steve Sarkisian at Texas. Again, not an exhaustive list, but I firmly believe some of the best fits in college football when it comes to the head coaching position. So get at me on Twitter, get at me on Instagram. Let me know who you think are some of the best fits when it comes to the college football landscape. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.